Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Coffee Curves. In today's video, I will be sharing a very bright and beautiful puja backdrop decoration idea. This video has 5 parts to it. The first is going to be this grid making, second the Devi footprint, then how to make this decorative hanging, the grid assembly, and then the final setup. It is quite easy to do this backdrop, and if you do try it, don't forget to share your pictures with me on Instagram or Facebook. Now without any further ado, let's start the video. So first here we are going to start with the grid, and for that I'm using these 3 feet by ½ inch square dowels. And to stick the dowels here I'm using wood glue. You can also use glue gun, but I prefer using wood glue as it will have a stronger joint. First glue the 4 outer dowels. Leave it to dry completely, and once it is dried we are going to make some markings on the dowels. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start making markings at 8.4 inches and then ½ inch from there, and then repeat these markings till you reach the end of the dowel. So starting from this edge of the dowel, I'm going to make my first mark at 8.4 inches, and then I'm going to make a ½ inch mark from there. Continue these markings at 8.4 inches and ½ inch on 2 opposite sides. Apply wood glue at the ½ inch markings. And place the wooden dowels at these markings. Wipe off the excess glue. Leave it to dry completely for a couple of minutes, and once it is dried, flip it over. Repeat the markings on the other 2 sides, and then place the dowels on these markings and mark the junctions as well. Next, apply glue at all the ½ inch markings and the junctions. And then place some weight, especially over these junctions. I place my weights over cardboard boxes to distribute the weight equally instead of placing individual weights on each of the junctions. Next, I'm going to provide some support to this grid that we just made so that this grid can stand on its own without any wall support. And for that, I stuck 2 popsicle sticks together with wood glue, and then once they're dried up, I'm going to stick them under the grid. I provided these supports in the center and at the 2 ends. And with that, the grid structure is ready. Let's move on to making the Lakshmi's footprints. I'm going to make it really easy for you to get this exact same image. For that, all you have to do is take a screenshot of this image, zoom to the required size, and then trace it out. Let me show you how exactly you can do this. Simply take a screenshot of the previous image and then display it on your laptop. Then zoom it to the required size such that the height of the footprint should come up to about 5 inches. And then using tracing paper, butter paper, or just any thin paper, you can trace out this image onto that. Trace the outline first, and then I also recommend tracing the inner design as well. And that's how you can get this exact image. Now on to the next step. For this I will be using bright red color cardstock paper pack from Michaels. I really like the shade of red in this one than the one which comes in the multi-pack option. Next, I will trace out this image onto the cardstock paper using a pencil or a scoring stylus if you have one. You could also use a ballpoint pen which is not working anymore and doesn't have ink inside as a scoring stylus. So first I will trace out the outline of this image and then trace out the inside design as well. because I did a small trial where I tried doing it freehand. It did come out well, but there was a little difference in the spacing and the angle in which the design came out, because it's a symmetrical design. Again, I did not trace the entire inside design, I just traced the basic guidelines that are there, and that should work just fine. Then cut out this image using a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife, whatever you are comfortable with. I tried using both and they pretty much take the same amount of time, although scissors were definitely more convenient. Next comes designing or painting over this image. For this I'm using acrylic paint pens. These acrylic paint pens are really convenient and easy to use, especially if you're not good at painting. And it's not just that, even if you're good at painting, these pens are much faster at getting the job done and hassle-free. You can follow the same color combination or come up with your own color scheme. Just for yellow color, I went over it one more time as I found it to be lighter once it got dried up. You will need 8 such pieces, and look at how pretty these already look. Next I'm going to cut this blue cardstock paper to the grid size, and for that I'm just going to hold it behind my grid, align it to the bottom side, and then make my marking on the top level. Cut the cardstock paper at the marking that we just made, and then we are going to stick the footprints onto this blue paper. You can stick it onto the sheet directly with glue, but I wanted to give it a little 3D effect. So here I'm using small strips of double-sided tape. Peel the backing, and then I'm using masking tape or painter's tape, and then stick the double-sided tape onto the masking tape on the side which doesn't have any glue. So basically the sticky side of masking tape is on the outside. Further cut these into 2 pieces. Now you might say that why not use double-sided tape directly to stick these, but I wanted to be able to get these footprints off of the blue paper anytime that I want and reuse them in any other decoration as well. And since we are using masking tape, it comes off really easily without damaging any of the paper. Now let's move on to the next step of making the decorative hangings. Here first I'm going to spray these Dollar Tree bowls with this metallic gold leaf spray paint. You get these plastic bowls in a pack of 4 from Dollar Tree for just $1. I like these bowls because they already have a self design on them. So when you spray paint them, the design really comes out and looks really nice. You can use these decorative bowls in a variety of ways for various decor. I will share some in my coming videos, so stay tuned for that. Next I'm using some pom-poms in red, green and blue. Fluff these pom-poms a little bit, running them through your fingers or just rubbing them between your palms. And then make pom-pom hangings by passing pom-poms through a needle and thread. I made 6 sets of each of these. Now I'm going to stick the red and blue pom-pom set on the bulge of the bowl using Scotch tape. You can adjust these by pulling the thread slightly. Stick the green ones at the dip of the bowls. And after adjusting the pom-poms, just press down onto the tape to make sure it stays in place. Then for hanging these, I'm going to use pearl bead strings and I'm going to attach it to the top of the bowl with glue gun. Stick the pearl string upright and then hold it in place till it dries up. Gently lift it up and check if the pearl string is upright and the bowl is not tilting to one side. Then apply another layer of glue onto the first bead that is touching the bowl. Again, hold the string in place till it is dried up completely. I then counted to 10 beads and snipped it off right after the 10th bead. Finally, tie a piece of yarn or thread between the last two beads. Now let's move on to attaching these to the framework. Again, I'm going to be using masking tape to attach these to the framework. Apply pieces of tape on the back of the sheet. Then stick them to the back of the grid by aligning it to the top and the bottom of the grid. Next, I'm going to tie these hangings. Follow along to see how exactly I tied them for a neat finish. So I figured that it was easier to tie these hangings first and only then stick the blue cardstock paper, otherwise it comes in the way while tying these hangings. I'm just sticking the extra bit of yarn at the back of the grid. You can snip it off if you like. I also found it much easier to flip the grid around and then stick the cardstock paper to the grid. I also added a small blue pom-pom with the help of some scotch tape, but I recommend using small pieces of double-sided tape as the scotch tape did not hold up too long. You could also use glue if you want. I just didn't want to dirty or damage the frame, that is why I used just tape. And now let's start with the final setup. Here I have used orange curtains and hung them onto my backdrop stand. I'm also placing a table covered with yellow satin fabric. And after placing my framework, I'm going to decorate a little bit using a couple of artificial marigold flowers. I am taping the green ends on one side using scotch tape, and onto this I am going to hang some DIY latkans that I have made. Hanging these onto the backdrop stand using some safety pins. If you want to make these artificial garlands at home, I do have a video on that. You can check it out in the description box. I am adding 2 more of these on both sides. I got these marigold flower garlands from Amazon and these come pretty crushed up in the packaging. In order to open it up, you have to run your hands through them a couple of times and then even fluff each of these flowers individually with your fingers for it to fluff up really well, and then leave it out overnight and then it's good to go. After the flower garlands, I also added this DIY mango leaf toran that I have made with cardstock paper. You can check a link to that in the description box below. I also added these DIY latkans in between the flower garlands. And to give it a more traditional touch, I'm adding these DIY decorative side tables or pedestals. And with that, our setup is all complete. Let's go take a final look. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and it helps you to decorate for your event. So if you liked the video, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already subscribed. Do follow us on Instagram and Facebook for latest updates. See you all soon in my next video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.